One of the cruelest aspects of slavery was the separation of families. Children were sold off over the wrenching cries of their mothers. Men watched helplessly as the only woman they'd ever loved was ripped from them and sold hundreds of miles away. As the war intensified, Confederate officers sometimes took a black man with them so they would not be without a personal servant and cook in a war zone. Confederate Captain Theophilus Perry, a sugarcane plantation owner in Texas, joined the war effort in 1862. He took with him his slave, Norfleet Perry. Left behind was Norfleet's wife, Fanny, who only had to guess whether he was still alive after her letters to her beloved went unanswered.
Spring Hill, Texas, December 28, 1862. My dear husband, I would be mighty glad to see you, and I wish you would write me back here and let me know how you've been getting on. I'm doing tolerably well and have enjoyed very good health since you left. I haven't forgot you, nor I never will forget you as long as the world stands, even if you forget me. My love is just as great as it was the first night I married you, and I hope it will be so with you. Your wife, Fanny Perry.
While the archival records don't shine a definitive light on what happened to Norfleet Perry or Fanny, Theophilus Perry writes to his wife that Norfleet ran away and probably went back home to Fanny. In Missouri, Spotswood Rice, who defied whippings to read the Emancipation Proclamation publicly, escaped slavery in February 1864. He joined the 67th United States Colored Regiment and got word to his daughters that he was coming to free them. Then he wrote a stinging letter to Kitty Diggs, the white woman who had told others that if he came for them, he was nothing but a thief. He warned her that he was bringing 1,000 black troops and would have his own child, whom Diggs was still illegally holding captive.
I want you to understand, Kitty Diggs, that whenever you and I meet, we are enemies to one another. Now you call my children your property. My children is mine own, and I expect to get them.
Rice reunited with his daughters and wife, who had been held captive at a nearby plantation in 1865. He became an AME minister and led churches in Missouri, New Mexico, and Colorado. As the guns fell silent following Lee's surrender, an eerie silence fell over much of the South. Wounded soldiers started home. Others were buried where they fell. The Union Army took up positions in cities such as Richmond to keep order and ensure the peace. 4 million newly freed slaves, no longer bound to a plantation or an owner, set out to create a new life for themselves. For many, their first order of business was to find family who had been ripped away by slavery. The fortunate ones were only a half-day's walk from a plantation in a neighboring county where a wife, child, or parent had been sold. For them, the joyous reunions came swiftly. In South Carolina, Charlie Davis later recalled that his father lived on an adjoining plantation and would visit when he was given permission or risked whippings to come more often. Though they were not legally wed, the couple considered themselves married. After the war ended, they were legally married.
My mammy and pappy got married after freedom because they didn't get the time for a wedding before. They called themselves man and wife a long time before they was really married. I reckon they was right in the first place because they never did want nobody else except each other nohow.
Others made their way to camps where self-emancipated people had set up behind approaching Union lines to see if they could find long sold-off loved ones sheltering there. Mary Armstrong was a young girl when her parents were sold away from her in Missouri. In the months before she died in 1937, Ms. Mary recalled how she traveled hundreds of miles by steamboat, stagecoach, and on foot, searching for her mother. Her last owner had given her papers to show she had been emancipated under President Lincoln's orders in case a slave catcher tried to auction her off in Texas. One slave trader gave her a job and told her about a refugee camp in Wharton County, Texas, that she might want to search. After the war, she did and found her mother Sylvie there.
Lo me, Talk about crying and singing and crying some more. We done it. I stayed with Mama till I gets married in 1871 to John Armstrong, and then we all come to Houston.
Still others set out for the unknown, stopping at every farm and refugee settlement run by the Freedmen's Bureau to see if anybody had seen a woman or child, a seamstress, a field hand, or a blacksmith who went by a certain name or looked a certain way. For those who could write or were aided by somebody who could, they penned want ads that were placed in newspapers or read from church altars.
July 21, 1866. Loyal Georgian Augusta G.A. Of my sisters Luvinia and Charlotte Perry and my daughter Fanny Brown, formerly belonging to Patsy Powell in Brunswick County, Virginia, have not heard of for a year. Any information concerning them will be thankfully received at this office. Nancy Hall.
Southwestern Christian Advocate, November 8, 1888. Dear Editor, I wish to inquire for my people whom I have not seen since before the war. Father was named Julius Dickerson, as well as I can remember. Mother was named Clora McKnight. They both belonged to different owners, and they went by their names. Father stuttered a great deal while talking. The man who owned my mother used to drink whiskey a great deal, and he fell in debt, and he had to sell my mother and 5 or 6 children to pay the debt. I do not know her last owner's name, as I was sold at that time. William McKnight sold me to a speculator by the name of Israel Keels, and I was brought to Mississippi, where I am living now. I go by the name of Julius McCarter. May God, through your valuable paper, help me to find my people. Address me J. Carter Edney, P.O., Wayne County, Miss.
More than 5,000 ads were placed in newspapers or sent to black congregations seeking loved ones separated by the slave trade or the war. Less than 2% of those seeking family were successful, but still, the hopeful kept searching, many for the rest of their lives. The last documented ads went out in 1922, 57 years after slavery was abolished. But can you blame them? After all, what would you do for love?